Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Impossible. I am your co-host, Austin, and we're continuing here with the Adaptation Series. We've taken a couple weeks off, had some larger events kind of make their way into life, but we forge on, and happy to be back. So today, it's going to be a bit of a brief one, but I want to go over another how in how we keep going in times of uncertainty, in that we must continue to forge on and we must be brave in these times. So to start off, let me get to the right page here. So the idea here is that you need to keep working as these external factors either increase in volume, I suppose, or increase in quantity. So how often they're coming in. And for the particular case that I've been experiencing here and where you have heard in these past couple of weeks is that and as you see here, I had my core needle biopsy done this week here to go in and verify precisely what the PET scan has quite possibly found. So had that done. It went well. I have had little to no pain. Probably, I would say no pain, slight soreness, which is expected, but the procedure went very well. I had a fantastic experience with the doctor and the nurse there. They were both willing to listen to me riff a little bit. In times of nervousness, I suppose, for myself, I tend to I fall to my factory, and that is one of what I think is comedic relief. I try to get people to laugh to kind of help me calm down. And it was a wonderful time. Yeah, they stuck a core needle in me to put another needle in there to pull some stuff out, pull some cells out. It was a good time. But ultimately it was, it went smooth. Honestly, there was more waiting than actual procedure, but that's just, how these things can happen when you have to be careful of, multiple factors. So, but, I'm still going through a bit of time of uncertainty. The PET scan says that something's active, and there are lymph nodes to which we that we could extract information from, and now we just wait for that information to come back and what precisely is causing that said activity. But as some of you know, I've been living in these times of uncertainty for quite some time now. It's been since about April. The end of April is where I had my first PET scan post my time in Houston, and that was because I had felt a lymph node return, and I've been able to set it to the back of my mind through some of the examples that I'd like to discuss with you today. But ultimately, the work had to continue. And so, coming from about May and on, we forge on. So yeah. So in these times of uncertainty, I would say the first sort of engaging, tangible move that you can make, and this is one that I personally have found to be extremely helpful, and we've talked briefly about it before, but I want to dive a little bit more into it today, is working on controlling your emotions and we won't. There's obviously a very large and diverse kind of portfolio or profile that emotions take up, for us in our day-to-day activities and just, existence itself. But a couple of them that I wanted to touch today was learning to sort of embrace rationality in these times. So having a, how we can say, level head coming into these times of uncertainty can really, really give you an advantage in your quality of life for your day to day. And what I mean by being rational is not allowing your reactions to be sort of quick fire from the hip, a shotgun spray, as they may call it. What we need to do is take in all information from said uncertainty, from said external factors that are either have been present or are coming to the present, and we need to absorb all of information that we can, so that in our reaction we can come to a position that is with being to the utmost position of being informed. There we go. Try to spit it out. We want to be informed. We want to be in a level, thoughtful, and rational position when we come to react to said situations. And so how can we actually go into our daily engagements? And I want to use social engagements in terms social engagements as an example for how we can actually utilize and practice on the smaller scales, the micro scales, so that when we go to a macro level, to a macro, in this case, situation, a macrocosm of external factors that are just, can be brutal in whatever way that you deem them, and whatever way that they come in, that they appear in your lives. And in my case, my case here that I'll use as an example is, of course, a possible relapse. And so we can learn to embrace rationality in daily social engagements. And so on the microscopic scale, you can have, again, external factors, and in this case, with social engagements, interactions with just, strangers or people that we may know, but, obviously, general population are strangers to us. We love them, but they're strangers. And how you can practice engaging in rationality is if one case is if somebody is you're driving down the street and somebody cuts you off. I use this as one because I drive quite a bit for work, quite a lot, and so I have a lot of situations to where I have someone commit a, you could say, rude or not very considerate or very not a very courteous move. And in these situations here, I take these as opportunities to engage in being rational about the situation. So first off, in that immediate time, in the kind of the framework of my immediate reaction, I take it in as, and again, this is just something that I've been able to kind of cultivate and form over time, is that the first thing that I do when something like this happens is I make sure that first I'm safe, second the people around me are safe, and then third, the safety of the individual causing the unfortunate situation is not last, but like obviously there are other things that I'd like to check off first. My safety, those around me, especially if you're on a street, you have so many different possibilities in terms of where people could be versus like a situation on an interstate where, again, I so much experience. You have a lot less, although they are much more intense, because you're at a much higher rate of speed. There are a lot less factors that could be, present, because, if you go off the road on an interstate, you go into the median, and you deal with, if that happens, you deal with that. But, you apply each situation its own kind of set of checks. And so where the rationality comes into to a situation like this is that you do not need to become immediately, how you can say, pissed off at that person or immediately mad at that individual. Because there are a lot of factors that once you're sat back a little bit and the heart rate, if it shot up, can decrease a little bit, you start to become rational to where maybe they didn't see you, maybe they were distracted, maybe they're in a rush to get someplace, or maybe it just happened. It just happened. They didn't mean to do it on purpose. All of these things could be true, and generally most of the time you don't find out what part of that was actually true, or you don't find out what was true about the situation. You don't know. You don't learn what they were going through. And so with a level rational mind, I have found that, and you might be able to put the term forgiving on it, but I don't. I don't feel that to be too necessary, because I'm not necessarily forgiving them. I hope that they don't continue to do that, and I'll certainly make note of that individual if I do come into the same environment with that individual person again. But what you can take away from that from a level rational standpoint is, okay, when this happens, I'm not letting that get to me. I'm not, my blood pressure, if it spiked up a little bit, was just simply to be aware of the situation and again, to verify, safety of myself and the people around me. But then, that needs to go back down. The blood pressure needs to resolve back to wherever it was prior to that. Your heart rate needs to relax. You overall need to become rational and say, okay, that happened. I don't know why, but here I am. I need to continue to drive. That's a part of making, checking the safety of myself and the others around me, is that I didn't, that person may have cut me off, but that doesn't mean that I brake, slam on the brakes, skid off into parked cars on the one side, or a sidewalk, forbid that to happen, from happening. But being rational in a situation is verifying that how I reacted was not, out of sheer, how could you say that? It wasn't based in terms of just losing your mind. You were rational about it. You were said, okay, alrighty. So I made sure that everybody was safe. And then I'm back driving. We're back to normal. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. It will at some point, unfortunately, but you just have to be aware and ready for the next. But if you're rational, that it doesn't get to you. It doesn't, or you don't let it consume you after the incident has happened and the dust has settled. That's personally how I learned to embrace rationality and social engagements. And a second real quick one with that is, with social engagements, is simply practicing responses with strangers with words or phrases that you want to kind of incorporate or introduce into your vocabulary. So So for myself, I find a lot of social engagements to be, they're all wildly different. If you're within kind of the same area, same neighborhood, you're generally going to have like a similar greeting, so if I'm out, like, walking a trail or something in Utah, I know that, I'll have some pretty fun and engaging, contacts with people, but again, that's not always true. You may pass somebody on the trail who's really thinking about something, really needed to get up and out of the city and just needed a nice quiet walk. You say hello, they say hello, and then they look away and they keep going, and that's fine. That's totally fine. Because I've been in those situations to where I've needed just a quiet walk. And I'm not saying that in my attempts to build upon positive interactions with individuals, and I'm looking to start a conversation. That's it's fun to have a conversation, absolutely, but at the same time, you can be rational in your reaction to somebody saying hello and just saying hello back, and and you just continue on with your day. And so you have those similar interactions in certain areas, but ultimately, what you can take to that, with embracing rationality. Oh, excuse me, apologies. In my particular case here is especially like, especially once you engage in a conversation, is that I've learned a couple of exiting phrases that are positive and engaging, and ultimately leave individuals with hopefully a smile on their face. They see a net force of positivity coming from whatever conversation that we may have had. And that I always love saying, take care. I've found that to be kind of my I found that to be my go-to for the bidding of farewell to individuals. And I really thought carefully about that phrase, take care, because what I hope to instill into those, for all of you that are watching or listening to this, and then for those that you were able to impact positively from the cultivation that you're putting in for a better life for you and for those around you, and ultimately your community, is that these words, they have a lot of honesty behind them as well. I really want you to take care. I haven't decided to use these two words as a farewell because it rolls off the tongue well. I say take care because I really do mean, in the most honest sense, that I want you to take care. And I try to sort of propel that message with how I say it, with my enunciation. Is like, I don't just say, oh, take care. No, I say, take care. Oh, and I love smiling too. I love smiling at people, and I love it when they smile back, and I just makes your day so much better when you can find times in your day that maybe a smile isn't necessary, but then you smile, and then you find out that it was necessary. I love those times. So with those social engagements, find rationality, find certain daily habits that you can correct and that you can incorporate and that you can practice within embracing rationality. And how that ties in with embracing rationality is that you're learning how to control your emotions so that you can become more consistent with those incorporations into your daily life, into your daily conversations with strangers or just with people that you may know. And keep that presentation of yourself to be, to be stout, to be honest, to be firm, and to be rational. That's how I see rationality and its impact in my daily life when I work on controlling my emotions. I want to be perceived how I think, and I think in a very positive manner. So I want to be positive with you. And that we can segue into working on being more of a net force for good, a net positive force. So going through these difficult times of uncertainty does not mean you need to falter into crumbling into some sort of weak spirit or frail individual. In these times of controlling your emotions and in these times of trying to be more of a positive force, net force for good, you have the power in these daily actions and in these daily habits that you form. And I mean that by we have that choice every day when we meet that person, when we meet that stranger. We have the option in each of those engagements to take a positive route or to take a negative route or to take a neutral route, I suppose. And neutral is better than negative. I will certainly say that, you don't try to cut people off in traffic. You use your turn signal when you can, and you don't speed. Those are kind of neutral things. Positive, especially the turn signal one. But another big neutral one I was supposed to say is not being so distracted by this thing. That's it's becoming a positive force because it's becoming so often. It's so often a distraction now that ultimately it's turned so negative that it's becoming positive, where it should just be something neutral. It should be something that is assumed that you're not driving too distracted. I know we all do it. It's fine. But we should certainly try to shy away from that bad habit. But being a positive force for good, and again, in my case, for driving as we continue here, is being courteous for other drivers, being aware that larger vehicles need more time to stop, so let's maybe not drive so close to them. If somebody needs to get over into your lane, just let them in. I know there are times where you're in a rush, you're late for something. We all have those times, and you're uncertain whether you're going to make it on time or not, and this person wanting to get over into your lane, they're using their turn signal too, by the way, and you get close behind the car in front of you and you don't let them in, and you don't look over to the car, you just keep looking forward. You're just like, oh yes, I defeated the person in the situation, when you really didn't. You didn't defeat them. You didn't help them at all. And you weren't being negative, but you just weren't being positive. How to be positive in that situation, how to be rational in that situation is like, okay, if that person needs to come over into this lane, there's a reason why I'm in this lane. So maybe they need to be in this lane too. Maybe they need to turn left at some point or turn right, whatever lane you may be in. And so you just let them in. You let them in. It's fine. Everything's fine. And you go on with your day, but you try to be positive. You see this, you're on a small street and you see that somebody wants to cross the street. They get out of their car that they park there on the street itself, and they want to cross the road real quick, and there's no oncoming traffic, and you're slowly approaching them. You just stop and let them cross. It's fine. Everything's fine. You pull up to an intersection, and it's a long line of cars, and you pull up to an intersection that's everybody stopped because of a light ahead of you, but you stopped at an intersection, somebody wants to turn. You make sure it's clear, and you just say, hey, just go ahead and turn real quick. I'm not gonna pull into this intersection, block the intersection from you being able to turn, and causing more of a hazardous and stressful situation for more people than what could happen if you just stop for a second, let the person turn after you make sure that it's clear, and then you go on. There are choices that we can make that are neutral, choices that we can make that are negative, but ultimately there are choices that we can make that are positive. That being in a level mindset, being in a rational mindset, some things can be put in a more positive light in daily social engagements. So that's where I see being a net positive force for good in a particular situation can really go well, and one that's that hits a bit more home for me in a more macroscopic scale is being a net positive force for good here with the possibility that I've had another relapse. I have thought quite a lot over these past 5-6 months now about what could possibly happen, where treatment goes from here. And treatment does not go from here in the sense of scale of intensity as it has before. We're scaling up. Pretty wildly, we are scaling up. So one's initial irrational reaction is to succumb and to crumble underneath the weight of that external factor, under that uncertainty. And I'm not condemning you. I'm not throwing you into the woes of the flames for succumbing to the pressure. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you can build yourself up to not fall to your knees. But how you do that is go through the process of being put to your knees and getting back up. You have that power. You have that choice. Because that choice does not only benefit you, it benefits those who are watching. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. I promise you that the Austin that I used to be would have not have had a problem at all. Continuing to play video games, continuing to shut myself out from the outside world, live in the dark, eat, drink my life away, and just stay. Some would say that's neutral, but I say that it's negative. With seeing how far that I've been able to come in my journey and really embracing the impossible mind, I see that as negative for how positive I've been able to culminate myself into. I see this as an opportunity to be a net positive force for good. And whoever I can impact positively. Hopefully that's how it's coming across. During these times, during these episodes, during our conversations that we may have with each other as we run into each other, I try to leave every person, including myself, in every situation, in a more positive feeling than when they entered. And at first, as I described to you here, on your journey, at first it's a challenge. It's a goal. It's a goal that you have. It's a goal. When I started out on this journey of becoming just a more rational and positive individual, when these absolute macro events were falling onto me, at first it was a challenge. I told myself, alrighty, this is going to be difficult, but let's try this out. That it may come to a situation to where I'm not able to stand firm with that weight on me on a daily basis, but maybe I can do it for most of the time or part of the time that I engage with others. But I found that over time, one, it was much easier. It's not overly difficult to stand with that much weight on your shoulders. It really isn't. That's one take back or not take back. That's one take away. There we go. Apologies. That's one takeaway that I have from this journey, is that it wasn't nearly as difficult as I thought it was going to be. But that now it's turned into a must. The day by day, the moment by moment, I must be a force for good. I must be positive in these times. And over that time, I've gathered and gained a lot of experience. I've gained a lot of knowledge too. And lastly is that knowledge is power for you in these situations. We've discussed it before, but I say it again. Knowledge is power. When you have an external factor that is here, and however long that external factor wants to be present, and however long you have to fight that. Knowledge is power. When I first started this journey on battling cancer, I had gained a little bit of knowledge in researching and reading about nodular sclerosis, classic Hodgkin's lymphoma, because of Matt. And he taught me pretty early on that this is going to be a very powerful tool. A powerful tool for me to use is that I go into those treatments knowing a little bit about the chemotherapeutic drugs that they're injecting me with, about the nausea medication that they're injecting me with. When it came to the upgrade to Cleveland originally, I learned about immunotherapeutic drugs. I learned about this drug called Neulasta, which was an absolute miserable time, I must say. But I learned, I just briefly read about it and what to come to expect to it and why I'm taking it. And it wasn't in spite of or in it wasn't in any anticipation of wrongdoings or misdiagnosing or misprescribing from any kind of oncologist or doctor. That's not what it was for. It was for me. It was so that when I went into those rooms, when I had to sit in that chair for 7 hours, having, layman's term, poison being put into my body, killing me, killing a part of me, I knew why it had to be done. I knew how it was being done, but I knew why it had to be done. And it wasn't in a simple case of, oh, I have cancer, this is going to help me. I really wanted to have a bit more of a sophisticated sense and reason and understanding behind that how and why. And I'm reaping the benefits from that challenge, from that goal, now, in the set of a possible second relapse. I come into this knowing fairly well the treatment that I may go under, what's possible from the treatment, short-term side effects, long-term side effects, other individuals and how they fared from it, the studies, the clinical trials at the different hospitals that they've done, the numbers behind it. I've done quite a lot of reading. I've read a molehill and there's a mountain, of course, and I'm not, to each their own in terms of how you engage with this process, but how I've engaged with this process is more than just a paragraph or two. I've read pages, and that's not making me an expert. That is simply making me, in my opinion, prepared to a very, very large extent for what I'm about to face. Because what I'm about to face is huge. It is a mountain. And unforgiving, unrelenting, seemingly impossible mountain to climb. But in the cultivation of an impossible mind, I know that it's going to take quite a lot of pressure to make me fall to a knee again. And I don't intend to let that happen. If you are distressed by anything external, The pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Nice quote there by Marcus Aurelius. You have the power to rob misfortune of its strength and weight by simply being in control of how you react to it, how you prepare for it. You must forge on. For yourself, for your loved ones, and ultimately for your community. Be a net force for good. Be a positive force. It's so glaringly easy, so blaringly easy to make that choice. I promise you. We're all unique. We're not all gonna think the same thing or agree on the same things, but the one aspect of this reality that we all need to be extremely thankful for is simply existing. No matter what timetable we may be facing. And I believe that's a pretty darn good purpose to serve and a pretty awesome life to live. So I want to thank you again for listening and for watching. Hello. And continue to follow us. Go to impossibleperformance.com. That's www.impossibleperformance.com to check us out, check out some merch, grab some merch. These sweatshirts are still available, hooded sweatshirts, but we do have some new and exciting merch coming up. So please keep an eye out for that and garner some excitement as we are excited for presenting it to you all. And following Impossible Performance, impossible.performance on Instagram, and keeping up to date with us on our running. So we do have the Nationwide Children's Hospital 2024 Columbus Marathon coming up next month. It's that date's getting closer and closer, and we're getting more and more excited. We have a lot of content going to be coming out specifically for that as we are getting closer. So keep an eye out for that. I'm at Austin_strength, and yeah, we are Impossible Performance. And at Impossible Performance, we are striving to build a culture of strength, fostering a spirit of growth, in constant pursuit of the impossible. Take care, and as always, be impossible. Beautiful.